You know that feeling when you walk past someone's front porch in late spring and their pots are absolutely overflowing? Deep purples, bright yellows, soft pinks, and you think to yourself, how do they do that every single year? And then you look at your own porch and you've got two sad, half-dead annuals from last May that you completely forgot to water through July? Yeah, I've been there. Here's the thing nobody tells you when you first get into container gardening. Buying annuals every single spring is a trap. It's expensive, it's time-consuming, and honestly, it's kind of exhausting. You spend a whole Saturday at the garden center, you haul everything home, you plant it all up, and then by August it looks tired, and by October it's dead. And then you do the whole thing again next year. But what if you didn't have to? What if you could plant something once? Right now, this season, and it just came back. Year after year, without you doing much of anything, just sitting there in its pot, quietly surviving your forgetfulness, your weird weather, your total neglect during that 1 week you went on vacation and forgot to ask your neighbor to water. That is exactly what perennials and pots can do for you. And today, I'm going to walk you through 12 of the absolute best ones for American gardens. These are plants that have been tested in real conditions: hot summers, cold winters, clay soil, sandy soil, full sun, part shade, and they keep showing up every single year. Some of these will surprise you. A few are ones you probably already have growing in the ground but never thought to try in a pot, and at least one of them is going to completely change how you think about container gardening. Let's get into it. 1. Coneflower, Echinacea purpurea. We're starting with arguably the most reliable perennial in the entire American garden, and for good reason. Coneflowers are native to the central and eastern United States, which means they evolved to handle exactly the kind of punishing conditions most American gardeners deal with: brutal summers, unpredictable springs, and winters that can't make up their mind. In a pot, coneflowers are genuinely impressive. They bloom from early summer all the way through fall, and the flowers, those big daisy-like blooms with the spiky orange center cone, are absolutely stunning. You can get them in classic purple, but also in white, yellow, orange, coral, and deep red, depending on the variety. What makes them lazy-friendly is their deep taproot. Once established, coneflowers are drought-tolerant to a degree that borders on unbelievable. You can skip watering for a week or two in summer, and they'll look at you like nothing happened. They do best in a container that's at least 12 inches deep to accommodate that root system. One thing people don't realize: leave the seed heads standing in fall. They're beautiful in winter light. They feed goldfinches and other birds, and they signal to the plant that it's okay to go dormant properly. Cut them back in late winter or early spring, and new growth emerges like clockwork. Zones 3 through 9. Full sun, minimal fuss. 2. Black-eyed Susan, Rudbeckia fulgida. If coneflowers are the workhorse of the summer garden, black-eyed Susans are the life of the party. Big golden yellow petals with that signature dark brown button center, they are one of the most cheerful, high-impact plants you can grow, and they absolutely thrive in containers. Rudbeckia fulgida, specifically the variety Goldsturm, is the one you want for pots. It stays compact, topping out around 2 feet, and it blooms with almost aggressive enthusiasm from July through October. In a hot summer in the South, these things practically glow. Like coneflowers, black-eyed Susans are native North American plants, and that heritage shows in their toughness. They handle heat, humidity, and drought with ease. In containers, the main thing you want to watch is soil moisture. They like it consistently moist but never waterlogged, so a well-draining potting mix is key. In colder climates, zones 4 through 7, these will die back to the ground in fall and come roaring back in spring. In the warmer zones, 8 and 9, they may stay semi-evergreen. Either way, a light top dressing of compost in early spring is all the fertilizer they really need. This one pairs beautifully with ornamental grasses in a large mixed container, and the combination of tall, wispy grass with those bold yellow flowers is the kind of thing that makes people stop and ask questions. 3. Sedum/Stonecrop, Sedum spectabile, or Hylotelephium. Here's one that surprises people. Sedum, particularly the upright varieties like Autumn Joy or Matrona, is one of the most underrated perennials for containers in the country. What makes sedum so perfect for pots is that it's basically designed for drought. Those thick, succulent-like leaves store water the way a camel stores it, efficiently and for a long time. You can forget about this plant for weeks during a summer heat wave and come back to find it not just alive but blooming. Autumn Joy is the classic variety, and the name tells you everything you need to know about its timing. It blooms in late summer and into fall, right when most other plants are shutting down. The flowers start as tight, broccoli-like clusters of pink-green buds, then open into dusty rose, then deepen to rusty red-brown as the season progresses. The whole progression takes about 3 months, and every stage is beautiful. In a container, sedum stays naturally tidy. No flopping, no staking, no deadheading required. The dried flower heads look good all winter. Cut them back to about 2 inches in early spring, and that's it. That is literally the entire maintenance routine. Hardy in zones 3 through 9, full sun, terrible soil, doesn't matter. If anything, sedum prefers lean conditions. Don't over-fertilize or overwater, or you'll get floppy stems. This is one plant that rewards neglect. 4. Lavender, Lavandula angustifolia. Lavender in a pot is one of those combinations that makes everything look more intentional. A terracotta pot, some silvery green foliage, purple spikes waving in a summer breeze. It's effortlessly beautiful. It smells incredible. And the bees and butterflies will never leave your porch alone. That is a compliment. English lavender, specifically varieties like Hidcote or Munstead, are the best choices for most American gardeners. They're more cold hardy than the French and Spanish types, handling temperatures down to zone 5 with proper drainage. And drainage is the one non-negotiable with lavender. These plants will rot in wet soil faster than almost anything else you can grow. In a pot, this actually works in your favor. You have complete control over the drainage situation. Use a gritty, well-draining mix, a pot with multiple drainage holes, and you're golden. Lavender blooms in early summer, usually June into July depending on your location. After that first flush, give it a light trim, cutting back about 1/3 of the plant, and many varieties will send up a second, lighter flush in late summer. Don't cut into the woody base. New growth only comes from above the wood. In zones 5 through 8, lavender in a pot may need some protection in winter. Moving it into an unheated garage or tucking it against a south-facing wall works well. In zone 9 and warmer, it can stay outside year-round and will essentially become a small, permanent shrub in its container. Bonus: dried lavender bundles from your own pot are one of the most satisfying things you can make at home. Just saying. 5. Daylily, Hemerocallis. Daylilies have a reputation for being tough, and that reputation is completely earned. These are plants that have been found growing in abandoned lots, along roadsides, pushing through cracked pavement. They simply do not quit. And in a pot, with even minimal care, they are absolutely stunning. Each individual flower lasts only a single day. That's where the name comes from. But a healthy daylily plant produces dozens of buds over a blooming period that can stretch 4 to 6 weeks. Some reblooming varieties like Stella de Oro or Happy Returns will bloom again in late summer after a brief rest, giving you 2 full flushes of color from a single plant. For containers, compact varieties are the way to go. Stella de Oro stays around 12 inches tall, fits beautifully in an 18-inch pot, and produces hundreds of golden yellow flowers over the course of the summer. Happy Returns is similar, but in a softer lemon yellow. Both are phenomenally reliable. Daylilies are cold hardy in zones 3 through 9, handle full sun to partial shade, and tolerate drought once established. In a pot, they'll need more water than they would in the ground. But they'll tell you when they're thirsty. The foliage wilts slightly before anything serious happens, giving you a clear signal to water. Divide them every 3 or 4 years when they start to look crowded in the pot, and you'll have extra plants to spread around or give away. Free plants from your own lazy gardening. That's the dream. 6. Catmint, Nepeta X. Faceni. If you have never grown catmint, this is the one I want you to try first. It is, without exaggeration, one of the most foolproof, beautiful, long-blooming pollinators will lose their minds over perennials you can grow in America. and it is almost completely unknown outside of gardening circles, which is a genuine injustice. Varieties like Walker's Low, which is misleadingly named because it grows about 2 feet tall and 3 feet wide, produce a cloud of tiny lavender blue flowers from late spring all the way through summer. The silvery green foliage smells pleasantly of mint when you brush against it, and bees cover it constantly when it's in bloom. It looks like something from a romantic English cottage garden, but it grows like a weed in the best possible sense. In a pot, catmint does best with a hard cutback halfway through the summer. When it finishes its first big bloom flush in June or July, cut the whole plant back by about half. It looks alarming for about 2 weeks, and then it explodes back into bloom for the rest of the summer. This is called the Chelsea chop, and it's the single best trick for extending the bloom season of any catmint. Cold hardy to zone 3, heat tolerant through zone 8, drought resistant once established, and deer don't touch it. The mint oils in the foliage make it almost completely deer-proof, which is a major selling point if you live anywhere near wildlife. 7. Hosta. This one might seem obvious, but the number of people who grow hostas in the ground but haven't thought to try them in pots is genuinely surprising. In a container, hostas are transformed from a reliable ground cover into an architectural statement. Hostas are the kings and queens of shade gardening, which makes them invaluable for anyone with a north-facing porch, a shaded patio, or a spot under a tree where nothing else wants to grow. Their foliage, which comes in blue-green, chartreuse, gold, dark green, and every variegated combination you can imagine, provides visual interest from spring through fall, even without a single flower. For containers, small to medium varieties work best. Blue Mouse Ears is a miniature with perfectly round blue-green leaves that looks like something out of a fairy garden. Sum and substance goes the opposite direction. It's enormous, with golden leaves that can reach 2 feet across. And a single plant in a large container becomes an instant focal point. Hostas are cold hardy in zones 3 through 9, but they need a cold dormancy period, so don't try to keep them actively growing indoors through winter. Let them die back naturally. Move the pot to a sheltered spot where it won't freeze solid through and through, and they'll wake up reliably every spring. Water regularly. Hostas don't love drought, and fertilize once in spring with a slow-release granular fertilizer. That's it. One application, the whole season. 8. Russian sage, Perovskia atriplicifolia. Russian sage is the plant that makes a container look like it belongs in a garden design magazine. Tall, airy wands of tiny lavender blue flowers on silver-white stems, blooming from midsummer all the way through fall. It's dramatic, it's wispy, it's romantic, and it absolutely thrives on neglect. Despite the name, Russian sage is native to Central Asia, but it has naturalized perfectly throughout the American West and performs beautifully across most of the country. It's been named Plant of the Year by the Perennial Plant Association, which is basically the plant world's equivalent of winning a Grammy. In a container, Russian sage needs 2 things above all else: full sun and excellent drainage. Give it those 2 things and it will reward you with months of bloom. It's extraordinarily drought-tolerant once established, handles heat without complaint, and is completely unbothered by dry air, making it especially valuable in the arid west and southwest. Cut it back hard in late winter or early spring, leaving about 4 inches of stem above the soil. New growth emerges from the base, and by early summer it's already putting on a show. Don't cut it back in fall. The silvery stems look beautiful in the winter garden and provide some structural interest when everything else has died back. Hardy in zones 4 through 9. Full sun, light watering, zero drama. 9. Coreopsis, tick seed. If you want continuous, cheerful color in a pot from late spring through the first frost, and you don't want to think about it, Coreopsis is your answer. These bright, daisy-faced flowers, typically in shades of yellow, orange, and golden red, bloom with relentless enthusiasm for months on end. Moonbeam is the classic variety. Soft, pale yellow flowers on delicate, ferny foliage that has a light, almost see-through quality. It's been a garden staple for decades because it simply doesn't stop blooming. Jethro Tull is a newer introduction with rolled-up petals that look like tiny flutes. Unusual and very pretty. For hotter climates, mercury rising brings deep red wine tones that are stunning in the evening light. Coreopsis is native to North America, which again means it's built for the conditions American gardeners actually deal with. It handles heat and humidity in the south, dry conditions in the west, and cold winters in the Midwest with equal composure. Deadheading spent flowers encourages more blooms, but honestly, if you let it go a little wild, it self-seeds gently and the blooms just keep coming. In a pot, you don't have to worry about self-seeding becoming a nuisance. The containment of the container works in your favor. Hardy in zones 4 through 9, full sun to light shade, drought tolerant. This one is legitimately hard to kill. 10. Ornamental grasses. Panicum virgatum / pennisetum. Ornamental grasses in a pot are a secret weapon that most gardeners haven't fully discovered yet. They bring movement, texture, and a kind of natural wildness to a container planting that broaden's rounded flowers can't provide. And they do it with almost no care whatsoever. 2 varieties deserve special mention for containers in American gardens. The first is switchgrass, Panicum virgatum, particularly the variety Shenandoah, which emerges blue-green in spring, stays cool-toned through summer, and then ignites into brilliant red in fall. One of the most dramatic seasonal transformations of any plant you can grow. It's native to American prairies, so it handles drought, heat, wind, and clay soil without complaint. The second is fountain grass, Pennisetum alopecuroides, specifically Hammeln, for those in zones 5 through 9, which stays compact at about 2 feet and produces those gorgeous, fluffy seed heads that look amazing well into winter. The variety Little Bunny is even more compact for smaller containers. Grasses need one thing annually, a hard cutback in late winter. Tie them into a bundle, cut them to about 4 inches from the soil surface, and wait. They will be back, fuller and more beautiful than before. That one annual task takes about 5 minutes and pays dividends all year. Mix ornamental grasses with flowering perennials in a large container, and you've got a combination that looks designed by a professional landscaper. 11. Salvia nemorosa. Garden sage, not cooking sage, although that's also perfectly happy in a pot, is one of the most reliably beautiful and wildlife-friendly perennials you can grow in a container. The upright spikes of deep violet, purple, or pink flowers shoot up from neat, tidy mounds of foliage and create a strong vertical element that most container plantings desperately need. Caradonna is the standout variety for containers. Deep purple flowers on dramatically dark, almost black stems, blooming in late spring, and again in late summer if you cut it back after the first flush. It photographs beautifully, looks stunning against silver foliage plants, and bees literally go wild for it. You will have a bee situation, and it will be wonderful. Maynight is another classic. Deeper indigo flowers, extremely vigorous, and one of the most cold hardy salvias you can grow, handling winters down to zone 4 without complaint. All perennial salvias need the same basic cutback routine as catmint. When the first flush of blooms fades, cut the spent flower spikes back to where the new basal foliage is emerging. The plant rests for a few weeks, then blooms again. 2 cycles of those tall, dramatic spikes per season from one pot. That's an extraordinary return on a single planting. Full sun, well-drained soil, drought-tolerant once established, deer-resistant, rabbit-resistant. Basically, this plant exists to test how much beauty a single container can contain. 12. Creeping phlox, Phlox subulata. We've talked a lot about upright, tall perennials, things that command attention. This last one does something completely different. Creeping phlox is a low, trailing, mat-forming perennial that, for about 3 weeks in early spring, produces one of the most spectacular floral displays of anything on this list. The flowers come in white, pink, lavender, red, and bicolor combinations, and they are so dense that they completely cover the foliage. You cannot see a single leaf through the bloom. In a container, this means the whole pot transforms into what looks like a ball of flowers. It is genuinely extraordinary. Neighbors will stop and take photos. You will get questions. After blooming finishes, creeping phlox settles back into being a tidy, evergreen mat of needle-like foliage that stays attractive all season. In a mixed container, it spills beautifully over the edge, creating that cascading look that makes plantings look full and intentional. As a solo plant in a shallow bowl-style container, it's striking year-round and glorious in spring. The maintenance is almost non-existent. After blooming, give it a light shear to keep it tidy if you want, though many people skip this entirely. It handles drought well once established, tolerates poor soil, and is cold-hardy down to zone 3. In the American garden, especially in the Northeast and Midwest where spring comes in cold and tentative, creeping phlox is one of the first bright bursts of color that makes you feel like you survived winter. Growing it in a pot means you can put that burst of color exactly where you want it. On the front steps, by the driveway, on a patio, rather than wherever it happened to be planted in the ground. That feels like a fitting note to end on, actually. The bigger point is this: container gardening doesn't have to be an annual chore. It doesn't have to cost you $100 at the garden center every spring. It doesn't have to end in October when the first frost comes and you're pulling out dead plants with a sense of mild defeat. Plant these 12 perennials once, set them up right, and then just let them do their thing. Year after year after year, your future self standing on that porch in late July watching the bees work through the catmint while the black-eyed Susans are just starting to open is going to be very grateful that you did. If you found this useful, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. It really does help the channel more than you know. And if you're interested in a deep dive on any of these plants, winter care, container sizing, best soil mixes, companion planting, let me know in the comments. I read every single one. Until next time, keep it simple, keep it growing.